Hello, welcome to Work Hard, Dream Harder. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Tia, and we're just two best friends waffling about life and trying to survive until we're 30.
Hello, you know what it is at this point, right?
No. It's a Wednesday, I think.
But it's coming out on a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Well, it's time we wind me up in here. So
We...
right, so we just
So, a few weeks ago, we were talking about rejection.
Right.
And how that makes us feel. And, you know, like besties do, deep conversation. Was I walking to the shop or something?
I don't
on
know.
the phone?
Yeah.
I think we were just on a phone call and I was just like walking to the shop and we were just waffling. And we got into like a deep chat about like rejection and how that's made us feel. And halfway through we went, wait, this would be a really good podcast
One day,
idea.
yeah, we need to just start recording these deep shit conversations.
Honestly, we go like full, I think more deep than the podcast.
It's just like, sorry guys, but like, we don't know you, but like, we spill the teas in real life. So maybe it'd be funny, like, if we do record it and then selectively, just be like,
Here you go, Patreon.
ooh,
Anyway.
that.
Anyway, that's future idea. Yeah, we go like really deep in our conversations about like some personal stuff sometimes. But we start talking about rejection and how it's been like kind of holding us back. And we just thought, you know, seeing as we're doing like a mental health month series for the podcast, it would be a really good thing to talk about. You know, let's talk about how self-doubt and rejection, you know, kind of work together, because self-doubt is like not believing in oneself and not believing in your own abilities, isn't it?
And then sometimes rejection confirms that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So once it gets confirmed, I'm dyslexic, shocker. I mentioned it once a time. Who would thunk it? But yeah, so I've kind of dealt with rejection and self-doubt from an early age. So I probably got diagnosed at primary school 6 or 7. Don't know the timeline, but yeah. So it came to a point where this is the reason why I wanted to start a podcast. I'm a gobby person, right? So
Say that again.
in a primary school, I could tell you the answer, but I could never write it. So they couldn't brush me off as stupid. However, but when you know you're different, when you're young, you start. Then I started to say to myself, well, I'm not a writer. I am a writer, but I struggle. So I started saying that to myself. And Tia knows, like, in uni, I kind of avoided writing. Like, I was just like, I begged the teachers to let me do a video essay. I found different ways to do it. But then
they were quite supportive and understanding of that, to be fair. And I think...
I also just joke my presentations were like an hour long.
I loved our dynamic though, because it worked really well, because you're the waffler and I would really struggle to come up with the ideas and like the what to do. So we would always team up and you'd be like talking at me and I'd be like writing it all down.
There's to a point where some people are like, oh, but you're doing the work. You know, because like... To someone who doesn't know
they'd see me writing, yeah.
It just see me then like, oh, we should put this, and then they look at me like, oh, why didn't you do it? But
she was doing it.
I was doing it, but it's just
just because I was writing it down doesn't mean it wasn't your.
But then again, when it came to presentations, it was a 50-50 thing. I would put the showmanship, and then you chime in, or like...
Yeah, you did the talking, and just so I could get my grade, I'd say like one sentence.
It got, oh my god, I don't know if you ever said this story. Well, one time, this is back in the day where Tia didn't... This is a tangent, but it got to a point where one time I gave Tia a caffeinated drink, and I think it was fizzy pop or something. And then she had it, and she started talking to a teacher, and the teacher looks at me, and was like, what did you give?
The backstory for this is my confidence has skyrocketed the past few years, but back then I spoke to no one, and my confidence is still pretty bad sometimes, but at this point in my life I spoke to no one. I'd sit in the corner of the class, I'd be quiet, and I'd whisper to Sarah, and that was it. And at this time I never drank tea or coffee. I never drank like full caffeinated fizzy drinks. I always had like Diet Coke or like lemonade or something like that.
Yeah.
I never went full throttle, and you got me like
I just thought I don't want it.
full sugar, full caffeinated Pepsi, and I didn't realise. And within like half an hour, or however long it was, I am sat there chatting away to the course leader, and he looks gobsmacked, and I have no idea where all this energy came from. And you were just drugging me up, honestly.
So, if you want to know more about that, we did in season 1 we did a uni experience or something like that.
We'll link it below.
Yeah. So it got to a point where I kind of internalized that I'm not good at writing, but then again, it took me ages to learn that dyslexia is a part of me that I'll find ways to deal with, but it doesn't define me. But then again, when we were talking about stuff, and it's like when society is like, I struggle with applications, and it was a fluke that I got this TK Maxx job, right? And it's just like, it kind of validated my experience of like, oh yeah, I used to go with writing, then the doubt kicks in, would I ever be good for that job? And then I feel like I tiptoe around. I've had this really bad experience with a till at my other job. And then I didn't pass my probation. Oh, because I really fucked up on the tills. I kind of
It was a bad one though. It was because they made you memorize all the prices for like everything, and the till system just isn't like, it's not really accessible.
Back in the day in this old job, and then I bought that same anxiousness with TK Maxx. I said to them, do not put me on tills. Don't put me on tills. And then I realised that atmosphere was different, because they have a person leading the front, and then they have like, if you're slow, they'll just get more people on tills. And that affected me in a positive way, because it proved to me that I was capable. And then it triggered in me like, I don't want to be there all the time, but I can do it.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to deal with at the time, because when you have such triggering bad experience, it affects you. But now again, it's just like, oh, I don't have to worry about how much cash I give to you, because there's other person to check it. And then this person, one of these till people, like, you're really good at this. And I was like, haha, funny. But yeah, that's what I mean about self-doubt affecting you, and rejections and stuff going bad affecting you.
I'm going to chime in with like my personal experience of like it holding you back as well. There's been times where I've helped you with certain applications, and you've sat there saying, I can't do this, I'm not going to be good enough for this. And I've helped you like write out the application and write out the answers, but it wasn't my idea. You were telling me what you wanted to say, and it was perfect. And you got yourself these opportunities. But then like a few months later, you'd say the exact same spiel of, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough. And it's like, you literally are. Like, this was all you. And like, I've seen that rejection and that doubt really take over you. Like, I've really seen that.
And it gets to a point where it's just like, I'm yelling, I'm like, get rejected, I'm like, fuck them, I don't need the man, I can do this by myself. And then again, but I never have that. I was like, I got this grant money, and it was really significant, but I was just like, yeah, it's fake, like, haha, like, I'm just a quota to fill in. Like, my mentor said to me, you don't understand, that grant that I applied for was competitive. And I was like, haha, you're just saying that, but then I dug into it, and I was like, oh fuck, yeah, it is. But then again, I think it still takes me a lot of time to be proud of that, because I think going back to the careers thing, because I'm not where I want to be, it seems like I'm just stuck. But then again, when Tia mentions, oh, you did this shit, I was like, oh fuck yeah.
I see it take hold of you so much all the time, and like you're always doubting yourself and saying that you're not where you want to be. And I think sometimes you just need to kick up the arse to remind you what you have done and what you have achieved.
We're those friendships, do as I say, not what as I do.
Oh yeah.
So we give each other the advice, and she was like, oh, but you told me this, and you're not taking your own advice. It's like, yeah, do what I say, not what I do.
Right on.
Yeah, and I think, it's difficult because it's like the proof's in the pudding. If there's no proof in the pudding, then you're like, oh, well, the negativity is right.
Yeah, it's tough. I think, do you remember me telling you about my time at the toy shop?
Yeah.
And you saying like proof in the pudding. I was on like I think it was a 7-hour contract or something like that, so I only worked 1 day a week. And a job came up for a 20-hour contract, and I was just at college at the time, but I was planning on going to uni, and I was moving out of my parents' home, and I could have done with like a little bit of extra cash. And I applied for these higher contracted hours, and I didn't get it. And the manager pulled me into the office and explained that I didn't get it because my add-on percentage was 0.05 less than someone else, like so insignificant, 0.05% less than the person who got the job. And it's like from what I can tell, nothing else was taken into consideration. They just looked at our selling stats, and that made me feel like rubbish because getting that rejection...
You internalise the worst, but sometimes you got to realise what I've realised with all my like job adventures. Sometimes it's like limited like space, and sometimes you are the right person, but there's one thing. And then what annoys
like
me...
your dyslexia, like my 0.5%.
And then they're not going to give you feedback, but that's another tangent.
My feedback was the 0.05%. Which...
But at least, but I mean, like when I get them,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, due to high demand, we can't give you any feedback." And I'm just like, how am I meant to improve? That's why that Channel 4 thing, they basically said I was a waffler, but I didn't answer the question. But then that opened up my mind because that feedback was invaluable. Like I was just like, now I'm practicing. Like,
I think you're practicing to be more concise, aren't you?
Yeah.
But it's the way that rejection takes you, though. So for you, you've always struggled to like apply for jobs and go with that, and struggled to like trust yourself. And for me, you know, that job ended. I left during COVID and all that, and I got this new job at the cinema 4 years ago, and I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. No, it would have been 3 years ago now. The assistant manager role came up, and a few people were telling me that I'd be perfect for the role because I was already like running the site and everything like that. And because of that one rejection from the toy shop, where I was essentially told I wasn't good enough, that had eaten away at me. And I was terrified about getting another rejection because I was so young at the time as well. So I didn't go for the job. And the person who eventually got the job, he was outsourced from outside the company. I was training him up on it, and he literally turned to me and was like, "Why didn't you go for this job? You are perfect for it." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "You're perfect. You're literally training me on how to do the job. Why didn't you go for the job?" And I was like, "Oh, you know, I wouldn't have been right for it. I wouldn't have been right for it." And he gave me a massive lecture, and he was like, "What do you mean you wouldn't be right for it? What do you mean you're too young? You know this job inside out. You are perfect for this job." 2 years later, he got a promotion, and he ended up promoting me into that job in the end. So I did get it in the end, but it was like you saying you need the bread and butter, and for me that was my boss saying, "No, you are perfect." He validated my feelings and got rid of that feeling of awful rejectionness. But it was like, it was tough. That held me back. It stopped me from going for a literal promotion because I was so scared about being rejected, and I was holding myself back. No one else was holding me back. I was holding myself back.
It's that stupid thing I think women do, like an application, right? You're like, you can do like a job majority of it. There's one thing you're like, nah, and you don't even go for it, and then a white man comes, and then and you're like, well, seeing the person, you're like, I could do that. Like, why didn't I? And I think for us, it's like, as women and as like neurodivergent individuals, we feel like we have to prove ourselves. So one fucking mistake is like,
Yeah.
And I just feel like my favourite quote, rejection is just redirection, because I feel like I'm quite spiritual, and I always say that, it's just God just giving you a sign that He's stopping you. Because, like I keep saying, I think I said to Tia, like, you don't know if you took that risk, that job would be if
I had got the higher contracted hours,
you wouldn't be.
Chances are I'd still be there now, because all the people I worked with at the time are all still there, and the people who were on 7-hour contracts with me are over the moon because they're now on 12.5-hour contracts, which is amazing for them.
Yeah.
But I would have been there potentially, whereas now I've had 3 promotions in 4 years, and I'm comfortable, I'm happy, and I'm in the process of buying a house. And
Ooh,
I wouldn't...
Spoilers!
Yeah, spoilers. We're in the process of buying a house, and I wouldn't be in this scenario now if I'd got that job 5-6 years ago. I would have stayed there because I'd got what I wanted. But that rejection, like you said, redirected me to another company on a new path, and it's worked out well. Doesn't always work out great straight away. Sometimes you need multiple redirections, but in the end it's working out.
So I think this is a perfect time to read something that I wrote on LinkedIn of all places. And this is going back to, I ain't a writer, but...
Story time!
Story time!
Story time with Sarah!
So this is a story, but this is kind of what I wrote on this LinkedIn post 4 months ago. And this is how we should handle rejection. First, acknowledge the disappointment, because it's just natural to feel disheartened. So you've got to get over that. So basically have a funeral for that rejection in a way, you know what I mean?
Don't tell me that, I've been getting all like the full black clothing in the funeral.
And then reflect and learn what are your insights you can take from the experience. So for example, that Channel 4 one, got to the final stages, but I was just a waffler. So that made me understand how waffling can affect. So now I've been in a few interviews where I've had to be the judging panel. So I've been on the back seat, and it's like, and there's this waffler for an hour, irrelevant to, and I was like, that's how it affects the person. So you got to learn from it and move forward with perspective, because rejection isn't the end of the road. So it's just another option. So redirection, rejection is just redirection. And then you know what, word of wisdom from Bluey, the
little TV show for children that Sarah has seen.
Yeah, so those 2 little Australian sister dogs.
I didn't realise they were like dogs. It took me quite a while to realise they were dogs. I just kind of thought they were animated characters.
And I was just like, I didn't realise they were Australian, so there was like thongs and slippers. They're Australian.
Thongs?
Yeah, they call thongs slippers. Sandals, beach sandals.
Thongs?
Yeah. That's what...
Thongs is the underwear.
No, but in Australia, it's the sandal.
They call them... Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you meant there was thongs on an episode of Bluey. I was
no,
like, what?
It was... So basically, to add context, so I think it was Mother's Day and Bluey's sister kind of tripped up, and Bluey's sister was like, I ruined everything, and she was crying. So the mum says, these are like the tick list that you can do. Have a cry. We've all been there. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. And I think from all that learnings from the beginning, it's just like it's all about perspective, learning from it. Because rejection's not the end of the world. And I'd rather fail quick than be successful quicker, because you can learn a lot from your failures.
Yeah,
than
you learn more from failures than you do successes.
And it's nice to have success, but sometimes you just need to be reminded on your failures.
I think sometimes if you have success after success after success, you don't appreciate it anymore. So you need a failure every so often.
Yeah.
That was pathetic. Come on. Go do with balls in your hand. Woo!
Ooh. Yeah, so, yeah.
And on that bombshell,
We'll see you next time with another banger.
see you next week. Boop, 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 boop.
We're coming to the end of the episode. Thank you for listening. Like we say, work hard, but dream even harder.